In this video, we're going to go over the Vite module builder. That is this repo that you see on your screen in front of you. First, we're going to check to make sure we have a good namespace. We're going to use this template to create a new repository. Then we're going to clone that down to our local machine and customize it with our module name. Then we'll boot up the dev server. Then we'll push it back up to that new repo and see the changes there on GitHub. Then we'll go into GitHub. We will turn on the GitHub Pages functionality. Then we'll talk about how to set up the npm publish, and we'll talk about the keys that you need from npm, and then you're on your way. That sounds like a lot, but let's just jump in. Hopefully you can replicate this on your own without any problem. The first thing we'll do is actually confirm that the namespace that we're going to create our module in is available. The first time I made this video, I did the sample module with the words sample-module. And as you might guess, someone else has made a module called sample-module. You can see that here on my screen. 7 years ago, someone was building a module with the name sample module, and now that namespace is taken forever. So we have to pick something that no one else has used in the past. I have randomly chosen Ideal Driveway, and I'm going to search, and that returns no modules named Ideal Driveway. So that's going to be the name of the project that I'm going to create. Now back in the repo, how do we create Ideal Driveway in our own repository? Click Use This Template, which is going to open up a drop-down, and then create a new repository. You're brought to this page where we customize the module you're getting ready to build. What this is going to do is create a repository in your own GitHub account. Here is where we're going to type in Ideal Driveway, and that one is available. If you have multiple GitHub accounts, you may pick different ones here. I'm going to create this in my John F. Morton account. I'm going to leave the description blank for now. Click Create Repository from Template. And there you have a new repository based on the original template. Next, we'll take this remote repository and clone it down to our own machine. Click Code. I just copied the SSH address into my clipboard. Now I've opened up my terminal. I'm already in a directory called Git, which is where I keep my Git repos. And so now we're going to Git clone that remote repository onto our local machine. Git clone, and we're typing in the SSH URL, which you see there. So now I've cloned this onto my local machine, and now I'm going to change into that repository. I can see that I'm in the repo in my local machine because of the command line prompt that you see there. I can see that I'm on the main branch. This is everything we expect to see at this point. I'm going to list these files out to show you that this is the files from our Git repo. Next, I'm going to do something that you probably won't need to do. Most normal people just install Node directly on their machine. I don't do that. My Node runs inside of a Docker container, so I can switch Node versions around pretty easily. So I have to type in node CLI, and this gives me a command line version of Node. You can see that I'm in the same exact directory. If I just list these files out, I see the same files. This is a step you won't need to do. You'll probably just type in node and then project-setup.js. Since I'm now in my Node container, I can do the same thing here. I'm going to say node project setup.js, and now it's going to prompt me for the name of our repository, Ideal Driveway. And now we need to enter the URL of our Git repository. You can still see that in my browser window up to the left. What just happened is that a bunch of files in the demo repository were updated with Ideal Driveway instead of the name that was existing in the old template version of this. It says we can run npm run dev. For some reason during this video recording, it didn't install my dependencies. Normally that would have happened here. It didn't, and I don't know why, but I know the solution. I type in npm install, and now it will install all my necessary packages. If I list my files, I can now see that there's a node modules directory here, and this is what we want. Now I can type in npm run dev. I can open up localhost 888. And after a few seconds, Vite has compiled my CSS, and now we see the demo page that is part of this template. You can use this to test your module during development, and ultimately, this will be the demo page that is part of your Git repository. At this point in the video, when I was rewatching it, I realized I didn't tell you where to build your module at. Go into this lib folder, go into idealdriveway.ts. This will be renamed to whatever your module is named. This is the actual module. Here, I've got a very basic module. All it does is it looks for an ID of message output on some element, and it will replace the contents of that element with whatever text is passed into the function. And if I look at my demo page assets, so demo.ts is imported by the index.html file. This is like what you would think of as your main.js file for a basic web page. It's called demo.ts in here. You can rename them if you want. They're not special names. But you can see here, it says import module demo page from ... lib/idealdriveway, which is that file we were just looking at. It says module demo page init. That's the main function that is exported. Success, the module is working. And it also imports the style here. This is us importing our style sheets through JavaScript. Vite will generate this into an external style sheet in the build process. If we look at our index page, it's pretty basic. Here is a p tag with the ID of message output. And you'll see the HTML says, if you see this message, the module is not working. On the demo page we just saw previously in the video, it said it is working. So what has happened here is the page has run, it has imported our module. The module then replaces the text inside of this p tag with the message we passed in, which is success, the module is working. This is all our module does in this demo. You're here to create something much more magical than this though. Let's get back to where we were in the video. Now let's move into our code editor. I've brought up VS Code, and this shows you what the code looks like before you really do any customization. All we've done is run the project setup.js, and I want to show you a few things that it's done. The most important of them is in this lib folder. You'll see it's now called ideal-driveway.ts. Let's take a look at the Git repository that has not been updated since we run the project setup. Here, I'm going to go into the lib folder, and you'll see it says Vite module builder with GitHub Pages npm template. That is the default name, and the project setup has renamed that file to the name of our module. There are several other instances, though, that have also been updated. If you open this package up, you'll see that the name of the package is now Ideal Driveway. You have the URL customized to the URL that you've entered. The main is idealdriveway.umd.js. This is your common JS module version. You have a module version here that is the ECMAScript version, which is idealdriveway.es.js. And one thing that has not been updated, if I scroll down to the author section, my setup script didn't ask you your name. You'll want to go in here manually and change the author from me to you. Now let's commit this back to our repository. I've gone over to my command line again. I'm just going to stop this process. I'm actually going to exit out of my Docker container. Again, you won't have to do that Docker container stuff. That's not part of this process. It's just part of my development process. Now we're just going to do git add period, and that's added all the files that we've changed. And now I'm going to do git commit dash message updated files for initial work. I'm going to hit enter. So I've committed those files, and now I'm going to git push them to the remote. So those have been updated. And now let's go look at our GitHub page again. I'm going to go back to Ideal Driveway. And there are a few things I want to point out here. So some files have been updated now. The other ones that we started with were about 20 minutes ago. I see this yellow thing here. What does that mean? If I click it, it says some checks haven't completed. Now, what this means is you're going to have to go into your actions. I'm going to click that, and you can see these failed workflows. This is what we expect to see at this point in the game, because although we have workflows as part of our repository, we haven't enabled them to actually complete successfully. The first one we're going to do is set up our GitHub pages. When you're on your GitHub repository page, click into Settings, and now scroll down till you see Pages on the left-hand side. I'm going to click that. And this Build and Deployment section of your GitHub Pages page says Source Deployment from Branch. We're actually going to change that to GitHub Actions, and that's all we have to do here. And I will show you why. I'm going to go over to Actions, and there are two scripts in here. One is called Deploy Static Content to Pages. If I just click that, I can see now that we failed to run it twice, but that's because we didn't have it actually set up to run properly. But if I want to, I can just hit this Run Workflow and make it trigger now. So it's being requested successfully. And I can see that something is happening. So this has been manually run by me. It says this in progress. This can take a minute or two. So now it's completed successfully. Let's go back to our home page here. And I'm going to scroll down because at the end of this README document, there's a demo page. All right, at the very bottom, it says you can see the demo page for this repo at John F. Morton, github.io, Ideal Driveway. If we click that, this is a live website based on our demo repo that we had locally. And from now on, every time you push your Git repository to the main branch, if you go to a dev branch or something, it won't happen. But if you push to the main branch, this workflow will be automatically triggered, and this demo page will be updated with whatever you last committed to your repository. So that's working. Now let's go back to our repo. Let's scroll back to the top. The next thing to talk about is your other action that has not completed successfully yet, and that is your Node.js CI. Once it's set up, every time you change the version number in your package file, say if you go from 1.0.0 to 1.0.1, it will republish to NPM the module that you've just updated. As of now, I don't think I'm ready to publish this to NPM. So I'm going to click into Node.js CI, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say Disable Workflow. So this workflow will now no longer try to trigger itself when we update the repo. I would say it's probably a good idea to stake your claim on Ideal Driveway or whatever it is inside of NPM before you go too far down this path, in case someone else has an Ideal Driveway module that they have planned and they take the name from you before you get to it. To do that, you'll go into NPM via the command line and publish it at least once to claim the repository. In that process, you will not only just claim the name, you will also then be able to create keys to allow access to it programmatically, which is what the GitHub action that we've got here is set up to do. So this is my NPM account. I've already logged in. Let's pretend that I've already pushed my repo to NPM at least once. I can go into here and then do access tokens, and I could create a new token for my repository. When I create these tokens, I usually do generate new token, granular access token. I type in my one-time password. I name my token, NPM token Ideal Driveway. I will type in some description that's available for me so I know what it's for. Then I type in 365 or however many days I want it to be valid for. Permissions, I select read and write. Then I select the package that I just created, the Ideal Driveway package. Organizations with permissions, I think I leave that at no access, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. And then I hit generate token. So the token you generate will just be a bunch of numbers, and it's going to go in your GitHub secrets. Let's go over here to GitHub, go back to your Ideal Driveway, hit settings. So let's scroll down here to secrets and variables. This is a secret for actions because we are setting up an NPM action inside of GitHub. And I want to create a new repository secret. I'm going to type that NPM token, and then I'm going to paste it in here. And then hit add secret, and then that secret will be fed into your GitHub action, which will allow new versions of your package to be published to NPM. The name NPM token is important, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to go back into actions. I'm going to go to Node.js CI, and I'm just going to click here to see the actual text in here. Right here it is, secrets.npm token. What happens when this runs is that secrets.npm token is replaced with a token that you got from npm. And that's how the whole process works. As I recorded this, I realized there's a lot going on here, but if you get it set up properly, it makes your life a lot easier. So I hope you enjoy. Good luck making your module. Thanks. Bye.